Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the MI webinar series. I'm Shalini from the Malaysian Insurance Institute. It's great to have everybody here today. This MI webinar series, we launched it on the 6th of April, and we've had roughly about 24 series before this, and we've got upcoming about 8 series. So this is our 25th webinar in our series. It's not all hosted by MI. It's also series webinars that we think that we've curated from across the web, and which is relevant for the industry as we look at what relevant content to bring over to the industry and to support the industry during these times, because we believe that, how do we keep the learning going, as we stand apart, whether we're working from home or whether we're working social distancing in the office or wherever, so we were trying to figure out. That's why this webinar series is entitled Learning Never Stops, and that's where the inspiration came from. So today we have another interesting webinar. It's entitled Define a Way Forward, Future-Proof for Sustainability. And we're very honored to have Dr. Stamatis Kourtis from the CADS. We were just having a conversation earlier, as we were doing just a trial run, and I think Stam will talk about it, and he's streaming in from Athens, from Greece, and and they're doing their part in terms of working from home and social distancing and everything. So I think Stam will cover that later. And so we have, Stam is actually the technical director at the Center of Applied Data Science or CADS. And CADS is whom we are partnering with to bring you this 4-part webinar series. So we've had 2 before. This is the 3rd one. We've got 1 more coming up tomorrow. And that one tomorrow, I think, is called, the one that's on your screen right now, AI-led innovation at scale, how digital insurers are leading the way. Now, if you want to register, the link is on the chat. Go there or scan the QR code to register. And I hope you've signed up for that, because the 3, I think, the series that we've had so far, they have been great sessions, very enlightening, and we hope to continue this with CADS. So our partnership with the Center of Applied Data Science is about how do we bring programs to help build capacity of insurance professionals, or the insurance community, in terms of analytics, data science, and AI to power the modernization and growth of the industry. I mean, now more than ever, we talk, and this topic is very relevant. We talk about future proofing, we talk about sustainability. That's the buzzword right now, and that's exactly why I think there was a meeting of minds between MII and CADS, to bring, how do we bring these programs to the industry? That's why they have various programs to help, and I like what the CEO Sharala talks about. It's not about putting a data science in your organization, but about people with domain knowledge, people in the organization, and empowering them with knowledge, with the data science and analytics, to be able to deliver the kind of insights that you're looking for to help the company. And so we have various programs lined up with CADS. I think we're going to be releasing one soon, which is the basics. It's called BDA 101. It's Big Data Analytics 101, and we'll be sending out a mailer on that just to keep you informed and about that. But if you're interested in any of the programs, that you think you're interested in any of these programs for your staff, or if you yourself are interested, do drop us a mail. You can drop us a note at customercare@MII or sales@mii.org.my, and we'll be happy to help you and hook you up. We have a special arrangement for in the insurance community for CADS program, so we're happy to hook you up on that. And if you've just joined us, I'm Shalini from the Malaysian Insurance Institute, and this again, this webinar is a collaboration between MII and the Center of Applied Data Science, and we're very honored again to have Dr. Stamatis Kourtis to speak to us on defining a way forward, future-proofing for sustainability. Now, he is the technical director of the Center of Applied Data Science. I'm just going to cover as in what exactly this topic will be about. He'll be talking about data-driven benefits for the insurance industry. I think he'll be giving some examples of how these, how do you build data-driven organizations in insurance, and he'll be giving some examples of that. What's the new norm, the agility, how to be digital ready, and building a digital literate workforce. I think the workforce augmented strategy, Sharala talked about it. I think Dr. Stam will be going into more detail about this data literacy framework, talent acquisition. I'm not going to go into too much of detail. I think Stam will be the best expert to talk about it. And maybe we can bring up Stam's profile. I think I can't do justice to it, but maybe we'll just have it up on the screen right now for you to see, you know, in terms of his profile. I think he's had, yes, it will come up right now. Yes, he's a technology expert with 20 years of experience, and he has been using data analytics. So he's also another data evangelist, I'm guessing, a data analyst, analytics to gain actionable insights that assist customers in decision-making across different industries and business functions. He holds a PhD from the University of Surrey and an MBA from Warwick Business School at the University of Warwick in UK. So I won't ramble on anymore. I will hand over to Stam. Stam, over to you. And looking forward to his talk.
Thank you, Shalini. Is it okay? Can you see? Yeah?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. So, hello, everybody. Thank you, Shalini, for the very nice introduction. My name is Stam. That's the Stamatis Kourtis is the full name, but you can call me Stam. Okay, that's my, let's say, international name, make life easier for my colleagues in Malaysia. Actually, based in, I'm actually in Athens, Greece, and hopefully all the coronavirus stuff will go away very soon, so we'll be able to come back to Malaysia very soon, you know, and basically have the chance to see you again. See what happens in the insurance industry, you know, before the coronavirus. We have some, sorry, I have to remove this. Okay. Now, what is the benefit if an insurer actually adopts a data-driven organization initiative? As you can see here, there are a lot of evidence-based decision-making that can help in an organization, ranging from strategy development, if you have some examples of how, for instance, to decide to work, for instance, something very common like to improve the operations efficiency by introducing some automation in the decision making of certain processes like underwriting or claims processing. Details of these different topics where basically if you are a data-driven organization can help you. Actually, I would like to focus in one particular because I just don't want you to give you some hints of how certain things can be done basically in your organization. By talking about data-driven organization, I would like you to have in mind when we finish this webinar today that it's actually an organizational transformation that needs to take place as well. Okay, the organization needs to change in order to become a learning organization. And by learning, we mean that there will be no silos between departments or functions, and there will be data sharing. There will be the capability of the organization actually to learn at scale, at scope, and at speed. And when we say at scale, we mean that the organization will be able to consume all the data that are generated today. And for insurance companies, you know very well that you have a very large volume of data. You have also a great wealth of data. The scope is amazing, okay, with all this internal and external data. Basically that you need to consume, structure and unstructured. We will go into some of these examples later on. And also the speed is very important, okay? Because the speed is where you're taking decisions very quickly and acting upon these decisions. So let's have a closer look in one of these examples. And the example that I would like to focus our discussion today is on improving the operations efficiency and automation in claims processing. So what I believe that basically most of your organizations actually have done is that you have introduced some sort of automation in the claims processing. So when we have a new claim that comes in, you have created some sort of business rules to check whether or not this will be automatically processed. If this is the case, the business rules can be, for instance, depending on the amount of the claim, then this will be auto-processed. But if it is not, then of course it will be assigned to one of the adjusters, basically, that is responsible to handle this this claim. Now, the next step, of course, is known. The adjuster is going to spend some time actually looking at the validity of this particular claim, and if everything is okay, I'm not going into the fraud, actually, in order to simplify the example, then of course this will be manually processed, and the whole process is going to be finished. Okay, perhaps I have simplified a few things. Things can be a bit more complicated, of course, in life, but this is where I would like to start you seeing what we mean by data-driven organization and learning. So when this particular event happens, when we actually have a manually processed claim, this is actually a learning instance for the organization. Okay, effectively what happens is that if we are able to capture the thinking and the steps that the adjuster actually did manually in order to say that this claim is valid and we should proceed, this is actually information that can be captured through appropriate machine learning that we can apply on this operations efficiency process. And this will feed back to actually the these business rules that we have up here. So you can imagine that if we have a large number of these manually processed basically claims, the business rules will learn. Okay, this is where the machine learning actually comes in the process through the actions taken by the adjusters, and effectively at some point they will learn enough in order to actually automatically process this type of more complicated basically claims, and only having the most complicated and tricky ones handled by the adjuster. But when we talk about data-driven, we can have also tools that can help the adjusters actually in their work. Something that basically all organizations have now, it's the idea of dark data. When we talk about dark data, it's basically all the unstructured documents that we have in our organizations. In terms of documents, we talk about adjuster maybe is using the claimant statements, police reports, any kind of document that has text. Okay, it doesn't have to have structure or anything like that. Anything that is text, notes, for instance, of the adjusters and things like that, can be used in order to speed up the actual manual work done by the adjuster. So instead of having the adjusters going through loads of data in order to find out what is happening with a particular case, with a particular claim, they can use state-of-the-art information extraction and knowledge graphs actually in order to give them only what is needed actually to learn in order to process quickly, manually, but faster, basically, the particular claims. Another thing that we can have when we talk about the data-driven organization and operations efficiency is when we have a lot of different adjusters. And a very interesting point that is being used now is that when we have actually new adjusters, okay, you know, and this happens with all basically positions, that there is always people that they cannot join immediately a particular role because they have to go through onboarding to get familiar with the position, understand what is happening, and so on. Now, within this approach that we are going to discuss now, all the knowledge that has been captured through the adjusted nodes, and we talk about dark data again, this can be actually used by a data science team in order to create a knowledge repository that will speed up the onboarding. So effectively, when you have a new adjuster coming in, that person will not be on its own, but for instance, they can use a Q&A type Elasticsearch knowledge repository, and they will go into the nodes of similar cases that other adjusters actually put in the system. Actually, they don't do anything. It's just the nodes that they have. The system is going to learn out of it and give this information to the other adjusters. Okay, so basically things and the onboarding, for instance, will be speed up significantly. Then another step in this, in the data-driven organization is when the automation happens in order to basically decide who from the adjusters is going to be allocated to process a particular claim. That allocation actually may not be random or whoever basically is available, but the allocation can be done by looking at the skills, experiences, and things, and basically what potentially and basically how an adjuster can make a particular claim to go through faster. Okay, and this information also, of course, can speed up the whole thing. The last thing I would like to show with you is that okay, the top performing adjusters now we can take the profile and we can use this in order to drive recruitment. So if we have, I am not familiar, let's say, with the particular jobs, but this is something that we are doing, for instance, within my own organization. So for instance, when we have our top basically data scientists that we would like to join us, we create how a top performing actually looks like, and when we go out to recruit new data scientists, we would like to match their particular profiles. And of course the same can happen for the insurance industry as well. So this is what potentially a very good example of how you can have a data-driven organization learning in claims processing. Okay, you can have things that will automate the process, but also, very importantly, you have organization learning. Effectively, the actions done by the humans, the adjusters, are fed into the system, and the system actually learns about this. And also, we have learning for the adjusters as well, as you can see about the onboarding and things like that. So basically, people are assisted by the machine learning and AI that is running behind the scenes in order to be more efficient in their daily tasks. Okay, and of course that's a very nice example of how all of these work together. This, of course, bear in mind that in order to create this sort of processes, we need to have a data science team working together with business teams. Okay, it is not that this will not happen without the collaboration of these two teams. So now about data-driven organizations. McKinsey is very good at keeping track of what actually means in terms of performance if one organization is actually data-driven. And we talk about performance in terms of revenues and profitability. And they have been tracking this for many years, and basically they have found out that if there is a data-driven organization, then it's very big chance that it will be highly profitable, and actually the numbers 19 times more profitable as a result is increasing because, like I said, they keep tracking and doing this sort of surveys every year. So the really short guide for you guys is if you want to become data-driven, you need to start from the top. Okay, basically the senior management of the organization needs to come up with a top-down, basically data-driven strategy, at the core of which is the endorsement of a data culture. Okay, very important to think about data as an asset that can be used basically to promote the company, okay, in order to become data-driven. I will not, I would like also to overstretch the point that the data initiative that will be created by the senior management team should not be technology driven. Okay, if you think that by creating an IT type project that has the label data driven organization and go through this, it will fail. Okay, we have numerous examples that basically this doesn't work. A lot of people think that if a lot of companies believe that if someone is going to get some equipment, also some bunch of data scientists, and they expect some magic to happen. Clearly, this is not the case. Okay, and these are all the numerous examples of failed data-driven sort of projects. Everything must comes organically from inside the company. Okay, you guys that you're here is where you know what are the business issues and pain points of your company, and the data initiative should focus actually on these business issues. Then, coupled with this is the talent that will be responsible actually to produce, generate, consume insights and analytics for the organization. And this is how actually the organization will be a successful example of a data-driven initiative. Very critical at the core of all your decisions is having a digital literate talent. Okay, and this primarily will come from upskilling. There will be, of course, some basically hiring of digital talent, and we're going to discuss about this towards the end of this presentation. But the very vast majority of the people actually behind a successful data-driven organization is the common talent pool of your company being digital literate. So now, what happens because of the COVID. Okay, of course, situation is tricky. I am here. Okay, like we said. Okay, we have a lot of restrictions and a completely new landscape that is basically unfolding in front of us. And the problem is that we need to understand what would be the new norm. If anyone tells you that they know the answer, of course, they're going to lie. So what we need to do is we need to prepare, okay? And again, this report from McKinsey is extremely helpful to understand what is the trend actually in terms of being prepared. This very interesting chart basically identifies the learning pace of different organizations before the COVID, and actually with a deep blue, we have the rate of learning for top performing data-driven organizations, and with the light blue is the rest. And basically the important thing, this is the pace of the learning organization that we discussed earlier, is that we talk about the pace that we need people to respond quickly at everything that changes basically in the environment. Okay, so some important, I will just would like this one to highlight. Okay, so effectively, as you can see here, before the COVID, you had the successful companies allocating digital talent among business units on a quarter basis. The unsuccessful, it was annually or less. And you see here that there is this requirement of increased pace. Okay, and actually the recommendation for COVID is this must be done on a weekly basis, very, very quickly, because things change so quickly. You need everybody, all in the organization, in a successful organization, needs to speed up basically everything that they do. So what's in it for me? The idea here is that we need organizations, okay, to be ready to build their digital readiness, okay, and be future-proof against any eventuality. And this means they need to react swiftly any challenge that will be thrown to them, okay, and also keep up with the accelerated pace of the new norm. When we talk about digital readiness, we have at the core a digital literate workforce, okay, and this means basically that we have people that are able to consume, generate, and also produce analytics from all the data that will be available. So what we're going to discuss over the next few slides is basically the workforce remodeling a data literacy strategy that can help you actually to build a personalized and customized digital literacy blueprint for your organization. So these are the steps, okay, data literacy framework that we're going to discuss. We are going to discuss about customized and personalized upskilling, and also towards the end, very quickly, on talent acquisition. Now, before you start any work, any learning program or anything at all, it is very important to have a very precise view of what is the data-driven organization maturity of your organization. So you need to embark with an assessment, okay? If you want more details on this, I can help you through the Q&A later on. And this actually will give guidance of what should be the learning programs that is applicable for your organization. Part of this is the learning paths that we're going to see. Very important, all the learning paths are customized and basically personalized. And of course, a very important element of all the learning paths that you're going to see is to have capstones. And capstones actually linked to the business problems. You know, this is what we are talking about earlier, that if the data-driven initiative is organically grown from the company, all the learning paths that you're going through will have, as a result, immediate business value back to the company, because the capstones will generate insights that will be immediately applicable and consumed by the company. So in terms of learning programs, we see 4 different groups of people. There is one for the leaders. Okay, they are responsible basically to have a generic high-level view of what we mean by data-driven organization. So workshops in order to explore what are the business objective, pain points, and things like that is very critical for them. Also, some very high-level digital awareness sort of programs, like the one offered by my colleague, Mr. Chari, last Friday, is very, very useful. Also, for the line managers, it's very important to get technical knowledge in order to understand how the business needs would lead into data analytics and solutions. Then the vast majority of the training, of the high-level training, is for the data analytics and AI team, or the data science teams, depending on the name that you use in your company. And also, we should not forget the rest of the employees, okay? Because increasingly, everybody's going to tend to use more data and analytics in their roles in the data-driven organizations. They must have more basically knowledge on how to generate and consume data. So they will become like more data practitioners. And this is also something that you need to think of. So these are some examples of of technical learning paths that we have within CADS. Okay, the first one is for the data practitioners, and here are some basically modules that we teach. Okay, very important is, like as we said, bear in mind that everybody, when we talk about data-driven organizations, means that they need to consume and also produce insights. Production of the insights and delivery of these insights through appropriate data storytelling, for instance, is critical in order for the messages to go across and people understand of what's going on. Now, for the advanced, of course, for the data science team, we look at this type of learning paths, okay? I will not go into the details. Just one thing to bear in mind, that we, in our framework, digital framework that we are using, we define a core of modules, and these are the skills and competencies which are critical for a data science team. This is Python, as you can see, SQL, machine learning, statistical data analysis, and visualization. And basically, whenever we create customized digital blueprints for organizations, we do an assessment of the core skills before actually embarking in any learning programs. This assessment has been running for more than 2 years now. Okay, we have given more than 700 tests across 20 organizations in the Asian region. So let's see this in action. I would like to skip this actually and see this in action. Okay, and this is basically our strategy in action, like how, if we have a big organization, this is from a public sector agency in Malaysia, as a matter of fact. There were 600 in total employees that they went through the skills and knowledge self-assessment. Effectively, we use this in order to understand what is their knowledge, what they do, what is their aspirations and preferences and things like that. The next step that was done automatically through our platform was to decide whether these employees actually were part of the data literacy program or not. So if it wasn't, there was no, of course, training for this. Then it was more to decide of whether they will become data practitioners, okay, or they will be part of the data science team. Okay, and as you can see here, we have this decision that was taken again through our assessment platform. Now, for the 50 that they were selected to be part of the data science team, these individuals actually were given, they had to take the skill verification assessment, specifically to check their knowledge of the core technical skills. The skill gap analysis was created, and a customized learning path, of course, was produced in order for these 50 employees actually to go through the program and become part of the data analytics team of that organization. Of course, the 300 that we have here, they just went through basically the data practitioner learning path. Okay. Another example of an evidence-based workforce upskilling is here, and this is another example from an oil and gas in Malaysia. Here we had about 100 employees that they were already selected by the company for the upskilling program. They went through the skill verification assessment, and basically our platform created this customized learning path, and basically the modules appropriate for the learning paths were considered, and they were given to the employees to go through. Now, a new capability that our learning path actually, our assessment platform that actually has is this of soft skills. We think it's of critical importance. In addition to technical skills, all data professionals are also able, or we know what are their qualities in terms of soft skills. The assessment that we created has been designed specifically for data professionals, and the qualities that we're looking are the necessary ones in order to achieve high-performing data professionals. As you can see here, these are the different soft skills that we cover in the soft skill assessment of the Talent Pie platform, which are grouped into 4 different factors. Okay. Ideally, the data scientists that we're looking must be strong across all these different factors. So they must be able to be critical thinkers and solving complex problems. They need to communicate with others, achieve their tasks, and be willing to follow new changes. But of course, this doesn't happen. It's not possible to have people strong across all these different sort of factors. And depending now on the job role and the requirements, we look at parts of these factors and parts of these soft skills, as the examples that we have below for you. So the first one is that if you are interested in identifying employees for the data literacy program, then we can have the company employees going through the soft skills assessment from all the different factors. We are in particular interested in the curiosity and inquisitiveness mapping. And in particular, we can map all employees across these three different qualities. The first one is curiosity, the second idea generation, and the third is practicality. And basically, the employees that we're going to select for this data literacy program is high in curiosity, high in practicality, but medium in idea generation. Why this selection? This selection is important because we want data professionals to be curious. Okay, so if the business comes and says that this is the business problem that we would like to solve, they will be curious actually to solve it. Also, we want people to be high in the practicality because whatever ideas they will generate, they will see how this is actually implemented, solved, and finished. Okay, so what we don't want is people being high in idea generation, because and believe me, there are a lot of data scientists out there that actually if they are high in the idea generation, they always find new angles of how to solve a problem, and they will never finish one and see them completed. Okay, so through this sort of soft skill combination, it is possible basically to find employees that should be prioritized for the data literacy program. Another very interesting example of the soft skills in action is about having people from the data science team to liaise with business leaders. Remember, we have now a person that needs to understand and communicate effectively between the data analytics and AI teams and also the business leaders. So what we're looking for is someone which is high in the empathetic communicator mapping. This particular soft skill that we have created not only is, people who are showing strong results on this one, it's not only people who are able to communicate clearly results, so which is the important thing, but also is understanding the other's point of view. And this is very important, okay? When you have a member of the data science team speaking to business leaders, that person needs to understand why this business leader asked me this. Okay, there is no judge, there is nothing here. Okay, just understanding why basically that person asks me to do this, and and this is exactly how the person will behave in order to go and do the work that is needed. And when the results will be concluded, okay, that person will be, because that person is very strong in their communication, very clearly is going to communicate the results to the business leaders. And the opposite, of course, okay, that person will be very clear to communicate to the business leader what is the views and the position of the data science team as well. Okay, this is a very important element of a data science team that we can identify through this particular soft skills assessment. Now, the last thing is on talent acquisition, okay, and basically, okay, this comes from the actual situation that we faced in CADS a few years ago, when, and I'm sure that this is going to happen again when the whole thing with the COVID will go away. So when you're hiring, the big problem is that the only thing that you see is just a resume, okay, and this actually can cause a lot of delay in all your activities. So and basically until you're going to take the decision actually of who you're going to hire. Now, by using the skill assessment platform that we discussed earlier, it is possible to speed up the whole process and make it far more efficient. Okay, so what basically we were doing, and we have been doing, and we still do, as a matter of fact, even now as we speak, is that anyone that will come to CADS for for as a potential recruit, the first thing they do is that they go through a skill verification assessment using the Talent Spy platform. And this is an actual example. Okay, I had two candidates to basically for hiring. Both of them looked perfect on paper. Okay, they have the perfect resumes. They took the skill verification assessment, and these were the results. Okay, the skills on the column here is basically the core skills that we discussed earlier. And as you can see, clearly, candidate A was, let's say, a bit optimistic, or a bit, not very truthful with actually their capabilities and knowledge. Whereas candidate B, it was passed the skill verification assessment with flying colors, and of course, it was a very strong candidate actually to go for an interview, and later on, we gave a job actually to this person who is still with us. So that's what I wanted to discuss with you. Thank you very much for your attention. I would like to take some questions now. I'm sure that you have.
Hi, Stam. Yes.
Hello.
Okay, so you want to cover your key takeaways? No, we will go into questions already?
No, that's fine. That's fine. I think it's better if we spend more time. I will leave it here.
Okay,
for
sure.
The people.
I think we have a lot of questions. Let's go to the first one. What are the key ingredients that organizations must get right in building a data culture?
Okay. For the data culture, we need to start. Okay, perhaps it looks a bit odd, but having a C-level like a chief data officer is critical in actually building the data culture, because this will be seen as the senior data evangelist of the organization in the whole initiative to become to have a data-driven culture. Okay, it's not a redundant role, but it appears, and we have the evidence from McKinsey's actually surveys, that all successful data-driven organizations actually have this senior position. Also, it is very important then to have basically no silos between organizations. We need to have a common platform, okay, that data and insights will be exchanged, freely between different organizations. Creating a data lake is useful, okay, but there are a lot of bad examples of data lake out there because a lot of people thought data scientists, data lake, magic happens. Again, this is not going to happen. Okay, the data lake is where you are going to treat everything that goes into the data lake as a data asset. Very important. Okay, so people will be responsible for managing this, getting insights out of this, and you see, data asset means that you need to get value to the company out of this. Okay, so that's some of the ingredients that I believe are very important in order to have the data culture. Okay. Openness is very important.
I think there's a related question. Should the chief data officer be developed internally over time or acquired externally?
Okay. Depends. I think I prefer actually the internal, to tell you the truth, because I don't really like the parachuting type sort of appointments. In general, the literature and the research out there has shown that external people actually bring their own views and agendas. Perhaps it's a bit tricky, and they cause more troubles than in reality. But at the same time, if the organization is very close and doesn't have any visibility of what happens out there, then it's a decision. But I favor the internal sort of case, to tell you the truth.
Okay. Okay, we have a next question. I think you brought up about the soft skills, right? Soft and technical skills are very hard to justify and measure. Even so, there must be a standard measurement before determining the level of each attribute. What is your opinion on this? How accurate is the data? And the success of the whole exercise depends on the accuracy of data. So the person has asked whether you could cite some actual cases as an example to answer this.
Yeah, of course. Yes, absolutely valid. For the technical skills, like I said, we use this skill verification assessment for more than 2 years now. Okay, and because I have been working on this from day one, I'm very passionate and accurate that everything is accurate when we're using it. For the soft skills, this is also something that we launched now, and also it has been researched thoroughly. We have, I don't know, it's more than 700, I don't remember the precise name of the people that actually have taken the soft skill assessment in order to calibrate and make sure that what we measure and I presented to you earlier is actually valid. And yeah, this is we have tools anyway that can help us on this.
All right. Okay. The next question is: can you give examples of companies that are getting it right in nurturing data literate talent?
Examples.
How are they doing?
Okay. That will be a bit of. We have. I don't know. I can tell you some examples from Malaysian companies,
okay.
like CIMB, for instance. Okay. They have a very good program in terms of. And it's one of our big successes, let's say, with CADS that we have done all these steps that I presented to you earlier, okay, and many others, but I don't really want to go with names now.
Okay.
I don't know. It looks like advertising. I don't know. I'm a bit.
No, but as in, what did they? I mean, what actions did they take? I mean, we don't need to name the names. Yeah, but what actions?
Yeah,
did
the actions. The actions is exactly what I showed you earlier as an example of evidence-based in action. Okay. Like we went through the skill verification assessment. We did the customization. We created a learning paths, which was directly exactly what they wanted in order to make sure of the business goals. Also, we had the meetings and the workshops with the senior management in order to understand what is actually their pain points, and this fed into the capstones that actually the students basically had as exercises during their studies. And this was the whole thing that basically we delivered. And like I said, CIMB was a very good example. Anyways, the oil and gas is Petronas. Anyway, perhaps you can understand about this.
Okay.
Same approach again with them and many others. Yes.
Okay. Okay. The next question is: how does the insurance industry? How can they boldly shape a more sustainable future? I'm guessing in relation to data, how do you leverage on it with all that data? I know you gave some examples, but how would you answer that?
Actually, I was surprised, to tell you the truth. Before the webinar, I didn't really know a lot about the insurance industry. But when I was preparing for that, it came to my understanding that actually insurance industry has a lot of things to gain. Okay, so it's a lot of data, new things coming up. For example, the wearables, you have the telematics, you have a lot of data that potentially can use in order to make better product offerings, to make better decisions of how you're going to move in the business. A lot of different things, basically.
All right. Okay, the next one, how much business knowledge should the data science team have? Should they be put in front of clients or just left working on the back end with no client face time?
Okay, that's exactly the reason why we said we need to actually be careful and do the soft skill assessment, okay, of our data science team. And we need to understand what is their preferences, okay, because they're people, okay, they're not robots. Mm-hmm. Although I have met some data science, I had some colleagues, let's say, that they were more like robots. So yes, we need to, I mean, some of them are able to be in front of clients, understand, and this is the empathetic communicator that I was talking about earlier, okay? Mm. If a data science member actually has these traits, are able to communicate with the client. It is able to understand their pain points, to understand what is going on. Okay, there is absolutely no problem with this. Otherwise, yeah, better not. Okay, so yeah, we need to see who actually we're going to put in front of them. But it's not good just to have them in a lab and, you know, working like this.
Okay, divorced from reality, right? No, you don't want that. Mm-hmm. Yes, I think there was a related question. From Theo about I think you mentioned the criteria about having curiosity, idea generation, practicality. Now, mm-hmm. What he says is it's very subjective. Now, how do you say someone is high curiosity, medium curiosity, low curiosity? I mean, is there a scale? I mean, or yes, what are those attributes? Yeah.
Yes, of course. Like I said, that the soft skill assessment is actually a job of our team. Okay, it has been very thoroughly examined over the last 2 years. Hundreds of people actually have taken it in order to ensure that it basically predicts these traits and they are valid to for the data professionals. And also we can see it's especially, I don't want to go into these sort of details, but if you see, because this is very personal, okay, and we talk, it's personality traits, okay, and if you have someone that you know that have taken the test and you see the results, basically you say, okay, yes, I understand this now. So yeah, I'm very confident of what we discussed earlier today, that actually will give you views of what is ticking, okay, and what is behind the mind of all these different data professionals.
Okay. All right. The next question is on insurers are confronting a new environment in which disruption from the COVID-19 pandemic presents both short and long-term challenges and opportunities. How is this disruption helping insurers to accelerate change? How can you use it, you know, to fast track change?
I think the important is this information from McKinsey. Okay, it was very clear that COVID is actually an excuse, okay, that things should go in whatever way. But the pattern was even before that. The successful companies actually learn and react in a faster pace than the competition. Okay, so basically, the COVID actually is going to make this even faster, the pace of how the companies needs to absorb data, decide how, for instance, to allocate resources, how to take people from one task to another one. Everything must change, as a matter of fact.
All right. But do you think I mean, while things will change, do you think if the people are given the opportunity to somewhat go back to what they were doing, people would? Or I mean, is this a real business case? For me, for us, I think we believe it's the right time, it's the right place, and there's a real business case to using it to move forward. But what do you think? I mean, in terms of organizations that say it's okay, I think after a while, I think we'll just go back to what we're doing.
Are you honestly believe that we will go back? I'm not
Not
sure.
for us.
A lot
Not
of
for
things.
us. Yeah.
No, I don't really think that things will go back in as it was before, because a lot of things have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a lot of things already have been invested in, like what we do now, for instance. And I don't see that this will be removed because now we will go suddenly meeting in physically.
Okay.
Right. Of course, I will come back to Malaysia, that's for sure. Okay, because I love Malaysia a lot. This is going to happen, but things will not be exactly the same. I don't believe that this is going to happen. It will be required, yes.
All right. The next question. Do you believe that talent platforms are the only way to assess potential hires? What if they impress at the interview?
Okay. No. Okay, that's very important, because perhaps I wasn't clear on that during the discussion. I believe in interviews. Okay, I'm not saying that everything should be automated. But before the interview, I need to have a view of what is that particular person. So what I normally do is that if there is a person that actually I'm going to hire, I always request that person will the skill verification in order to check what they know in reality. Okay. This helps me a lot, because I don't really have, during the interview afterwards, I don't really have to spend time asking questions about their knowledge, the technical knowledge. It's more to understand, if they are suitable, in joining us. Okay, and this actually helps me a lot with the interview. Okay, so I really see, and I cannot really overemphasize that we need both. Okay, we need the assessment at the beginning, and then the interview having the assessment results.
Okay, so it's about how they complement each other to give you a better picture of the candidate, right? Okay.
Exactly, yes.
All right.
Totally.
Okay, there's a good, an interesting question here. I found my work in his work in developing countries, while digitalization is important, it is very difficult due to the challenges such as infrastructure, talent, skills, leadership commitment at all levels. Could you share your view if these principles are still applicable to less savvy companies, like the small and medium enterprises, or less developed agencies? For example, you mentioned, Stam, about having a chief data officer. I'm not sure if everybody can, either afford or get someone to handle that. I know you did mention it could be a double hatting thing. It's not about a single role, but how do you handle it for these kind of companies, the smaller outfits, not very savvy in terms of this whole thing?
Of course, yes. Having chief data officer is more like exactly for big companies, but for the SMEs, and I can speak for CATS, for example, because we are in this sort of position. We are an SME, but with a strong view that we need to be a learning data-driven organization. Okay, so we have the view, and this comes basically from the leadership. You met Sharala, okay, of course, and she wanted actually the company to be data-driven, and actually to have all the views and the infrastructure that can help us actually to do that. Okay, this is where the top-down actually comes in. I think for the others, it's more like a learning process. Okay, that's why basically we're here. Okay, so for the SMEs, it's basically for us now, and you and everybody, to spread the message that if you don't do that, you're gone. Really, I don't see survival, because the digitization pace we will go back to the previous questions, is going only to go faster. Okay, so basically we need to keep up with this. Otherwise, I don't see how they will learn. If they don't want to learn to go through this, they will not survive in the long run.
But I guess they would have to tackle it, in a smaller, like they say, if you want to eat a whale,
Yes.
in bite-sized chunks, right? So you.
Yeah, of course. Okay. During my presentation, perhaps, okay, I gave you the very small list of how to become data-driven. Okay.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
I stress the point that everything must come organically from the company. Don't buy technology, period. Okay, if someone comes, say, take this technology, don't believe it. Now, the good thing is that the technology that you're going to need, and I'm talking for the cats as a matter of fact, is extremely cheap, okay, because you have the cloud vendors like AWS or whatever is your preference, it doesn't matter. We use AWS, okay? Lots of people actually are using them. So in order to start small, having some data there, generate some insights, running your models and do things like that is really cheap. I cannot overstress how cheap it can be. Okay, so you don't really have to spend a lot of time, effort, in order to become data-driven. You just need to think about what is basically the problem that you would like to solve, what is the data that you currently have in your company, okay? And then you need to find the people within your company that you're going to upskill, okay? And of course, if you don't have any, of course, data analytics capability, just to hire one or two people that, they will give you the initial boost, to move on. You don't really need a lot of big bang type things, in order to go data driven. This is a very, very cheap way actually to doing that.
Okay. I think the next question related, I think from Amir as well. Would the strategies you recommend for a startup be any different from what you would recommend to a legacy company?
No, my preference is the same. Although I'm using technology for 20 years, whatever, I prefer technology working with people, okay, and solving the problems, starting small and expanding from that. I don't like big bang type things for sure. So the process will be the same. But of course, if it is a big company, okay, then you need to have people looking. That's why the chief data officer apparently it works well, and we have the proof out of McKinsey's, for instance, research. But that's a special case, let's say. For me, the roadmap is the same for both type of companies.
All right. The next question, what is the difference between a chief data officer and a CISO? I think chief information security officer, I believe. If the work of a data officer can be carried out by a CISO, what do you think?
Okay, there are two different terms, either chief data officer or chief analytics officer. It's more like, yeah, that's the two terms that currently are used. It depends of how the company actually looks at the data, either at the data as an asset or the analytics, let's say, from the data as an asset. Okay, that's semantics, to tell you the truth. I don't mind. Chief data officer is okay. Now, information security, I think that's a different task altogether. So I'm not
I don't
sure.
know, Stam. Is it like chief data officer is someone about how do you use the data, and the chief information security is how do you protect the data? I think that's the difference. Is that how you would look at it?
I think so. Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
all right.
I think
but
so.
Could this role overlap?
Yes, of course. The important thing is when we talk about a chief data officer in a data-driven organization, is that person must bring the mentality of breaking silos. Okay, There are no departments, that keep their data. They don't share anything at all. This guy, the primary goal is that they will go in, open up everything, and leave the people, use data in order to make the analytics and the insights. So I don't really worry too much about the titles. It's more about what this person brings in. Okay. And this is what the research has shown is the success basically behind all these high-performing data-driven organizations.
I remember reading Stam about Estonia. I don't know if you recall, and how they were the surprising success in terms of moving towards a digital identity, a government issued. And they talked about one of the reasons for their success was that there's no one who owns the data. The data belongs to everyone, and anyone should be able to use it and share that data for the good of the country. And I think that's one of the things that they talked about. The point of collection is the owner, but the owner is for the purpose of maintenance. But at the end of the day, the data is shared for the good of everybody. I think that's one thing that they talked about as the successful, why they were able to move forward when everybody else was struggling with it. We got two more questions, I think. The global job market is transforming at an incredible speed. How can the L&D of an organization future-proof their staff, and where do they start? I think it might be pretty similar to
yes.
earlier question.
We discussed about this earlier, yes.
Okay, and the next question is, how do you know how many talents should be having such skills in an organization?
Okay.
Number. What's that magic number? I know you talked about
the magic number. Okay. There are some guidelines, okay, from the World Economic Forum about roughly what portion of your current pool should become data literate. And this is about 54%, as a matter of fact, okay, that should join an upskilling program.
54%?
54%.
Oh, that's quite high. Okay.
It is, yes.
Right. Okay.
Because, again, think of the example that we discussed earlier, okay, when I was talking about putting automation in the process, in the claim processing. Then over there we had the automation, but we have the people as well. So these adjusters need to become data literate, okay, because they are going to use the new tools that will become available, like all the stuff with the knowledge sort of databases and stuff like that. So it's not that they will be removed from the job, but their job will be evolved together with the AI and the machine learning that will be introduced as well. And this is the view actually from us, from CADS, and that we follow, and we agree, of course, with the World Economic Forum, that actually all these new technologies, they are going to augment the current job roles, and they need to be upskilled. Okay. Just to tell you, to give you a small number here, we work very closely with Shell Malaysia, and we have done a lot of these activities as well with them. Now, in Shell, anyway, it is in Texas, I think, somewhere in the United States. Because of the COVID and the fact that people, they were not able to go and do their job, they decided actually to upskill everybody in AI skills, okay? Because they believe that of this augmentation that we talk about, okay, that people, they will use AI to do job better, and at the same time the AI will learn from the people in order to become better. So it's going to be a very interesting thing that we will see in the near future.
So it's a synergy, right? Or a symbiotic relationship to get better together. It's not about one replacing the other, but about how the two. Okay, all right. I think there was a question here for us, I think for MII, and how we can assist the profession in upskilling for data analytics. I think this is where we are partnering with CADS, to bring you programs on that. I think CADS has a whole range of programs in terms of analytics, data science, in the use of AI. So it's the programs are being offered through MII, and I think there's a special rate for MII members. So again, do reach out to us, and we're happy to help you out in terms of information. And I think we're starting off with the first Big Data Analytics 101. It's something to get everybody, sort of like on a level playing field, just to get the basics out, so that we're gonna, I think, launch it this week. It's gonna go out. I think the communication will go out this week, so do look out for that. But feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to talk to you more about this. I think we have one more question. I think on the group. What is the difference? Okay, sorry. Who in an organization is the right candidate to upskill in data analytics skill? So if you had to pick out of 100, who would you pick? Is it that assessment that you talked about? Is that
exactly?
The one? Okay.
Yes. Right. Okay. We have two different assessments. Okay. One is actually to personalize and basically take into consideration the aspirations of a candidate. Okay. It's self-assessment really, just questions, nothing knowledge-based heavy or anything like that. If we need to find hidden talent in one organization, this is the one that we use. And then the people that actually will go to join the data analytics and AI teams, they will go through the skill verification assessment in order to do the customization. So we have the two different assessments basically in place.
Okay. All right. All right. We have one more question. What is the difference of using the assessment and not? Sorry, hang on 1 minute. Before sending them for the data professional training. Do you do the assessment before you send them for the program? Or do you think...
In terms of learning programs that we have the data practitioner, which is straightforward. This is for pretty much most of the people in one company. Okay.
Correct.
Of course, we don't do any personalization or customization there because it's very basic stuff that people need to know. All right. But for the data analytics, data science type learning paths, yes, we always say that the people have to take the skill verification assessment, because through this we understand what is the knowledge level of the participants, and also it's part of our process anyway.
Okay, all right. That's all the questions that we have. Dr. Stam, thank you so much for your presentation, really enlightening presentation today. Do you have anything else that you want to say, to the audience? Anything?
No, thank you very much. I think if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. You can drop me an email. There is absolutely no problem at all. Okay. COVID was the actually reason why we met, although it is a bit remotely, but I hope very soon I will see you in person. Okay.
In better times.
In better times.
In better times, yes. Okay. Thank you again. Thank you again, Dr. Stam.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and to everybody, take note, the slides will be sent to you along with our email asking you to share your feedback. The webinar, the video on the webinar will be posted on our microsite, I think in about 2 days' time. But do share your feedback. We'd love to hear from you as to what topics should we cover. And again, thank you again to Dr. Stam and to CADS, for this, for putting this together for us. And do sign up for the session tomorrow. That's the last one with the CADS series. I think the title of that is, wait, sorry, if I can just get that. Hasrina, do you have the title for that? I think it's about, yes, AI-led innovation at scale, how digital insurers are leading the way. I'm sorry about that. Yes, so do sign up if you have not, and I will catch you tomorrow. Bye again, everybody. Bye, Dr. Stam.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Shalini.